A comic's core doesn't always have to be two characters fighting. The low-budget nature of the medium lends itself to big action scenes, but the best stories focus on emotional conflicts that scar certain characters moving forward. Out of DC's repertoire of stories with the word crisis in the title, Identity Crisis is probably my favorite. The 2007 limited series, written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Rags Morales, looks at the hidden costs of being a hero in our society. Instead of an alien threat no one relates to, Identity Crisis looks at what happens when heroes' families are threatened and lives are ripped apart. We're forced to watch loved ones get sexually assaulted and sit beside Robin's father as he worries about his son. While there are a few action sequences throughout the story, the focus on relatable emotions and realistic fears elevates Identity Crisis above the typical event series. In the book's collected version, Brad Meltzer said so many superhero comics look at things through a telescope, trying to find giant monsters and whole worlds to punch. Identity Crisis is designed to look at these characters through a microscope, pulling in so tight we can see all their flaws and imperfections. While the book has a few main characters, the story follows a lesser-known Justice League member named Elongated Man. Yep, he has the unique ability to elongate himself, just like Plastic Man, Mr. Fantastic, Elastigirl, Stretch Armstrong, Jake, and Gumby. So all in all, it's a pretty unique power. Central to Ralph's character is his relationship with his wife Sue, and the book observes what happens to him after he loses the most important person in his life. Not only is he a great character to follow because he's experiencing a loss, making him more sympathetic for the audience, but his abilities work as an artistic tool to show how he's feeling at any point in the story. The first time we see Ralph, before his wife is murdered, his body language conveys a sense of comfortability despite being on duty for the first time in years. Sure, he's anxious, as you can see through the deep lines above his brow, but he's calm and in control. As the book progresses and Ralph descends further into despair, we can see his physical form change to match his emotions. When he finds Sue's body, he stretches himself to the limit to cradle her. But the most important detail is in his facial structure. His jaw sits slightly unhinged, a subtle way to showcase the character beginning to lose control of himself. Later on, during Sue's funeral, Ralph can barely hold himself together. He shakes around, and right as he's about to give a speech, his face literally melts in his hands. We all want to be strong and keep our chins up when things get tough, but sometimes we stumble. To see Ralph, a superhero, lose control despite his friend's support makes the character more relatable in his lowest moment. It's only when Ralph moves from sadness to anger do we see a firm physical change take place. The curves and lazy eyes disappear as a tight jaw and hard eyes take shape that match his newfound desire for revenge. I don't want to spoil anything, but the plot revolves around the presence and power of secrets. It doesn't matter whether it's big or small, a secret has the power to divide people. Identity Crisis quickly establishes a secretive tone by opening on a series of intimate moments between heroes and their loved ones. Not only does it set up love as an important theme in the story, but it introduces the idea that secrets exist in every relationship these characters have. Even Superman, a Boy Scout extraordinaire, has to put on a face and hide things from his parents sometimes. Another important character in the series is Tim Drake, my favorite Robin, shortly after he has given up the biggest secret in his life. Now that his father knows he patrols the streets in colored tights, Tim, more than any other character, walks a delicate line to maintain his personal life and after-school activities. While his physical changes are more subtle than Ralph's, his facial structure varies whether he is in or out of his costume. Look how curvy Tim's face is here when he is out of costume, just hanging out with his dad. Now contrast that with how tight and rigid his jaw looks here, and it's hard to even tell they're the same person. Even though he's honest with his father about what he does at night, Tim still puts on a face whenever he steps into his costume. It's only here, as his father tries guilting him out of leaving, does the roundness return to his face. The delicate line between Tim's two personas breaks down, and his true feelings are visible in his face for that one moment. A past decision made by certain League members has created an invisible wedge on the team that is felt throughout the series. As DC's finest run off to search for Sue's murderer, a select group stays back and makes assumptions based off past secrets. Not only do they isolate themselves, but they continue to mislead their teammates, giving the secret more power within their relationships. We see friends forced to choose one side over the other, and emotions turn into anger as we watch a group of heroes try to justify an unethical decision based off their good intentions. While most of the Justice League proceeds as usual, Wally West, the only character to learn the true secret at the series' core, has trouble adjusting to the new normal. A character who's known for his lightheartedness and sense of humor ends with a heavy heart. His strong posture is gone. Now he's slouched over, slightly defeated, with a vacant stare that doesn't even change when he receives good news. As the team moves on with their life, Flash looks forward with the truth heavily on his mind, symbolized by the prominence Wonder Woman's lasso of truth has in Wally's last panel. Identity Crisis teaches us that sometimes the truth can hurt more than a sword to the shoulder. Unlike event comics that deal with parallel universes or cosmic forces, Identity Crisis shows us a story of loss and desperation we can all relate to. Sure, the fabric of the multiverse might not have changed, but the heroes and their lives did. There are so many great things in this book, and so many emotional beats I didn't mention, but where it succeeds most is in creating a story that feels simultaneously personal and universal. Instead of being bloated with ancillary fight scenes, the series is able to stay focused on how people react to tragedy. Identity Crisis sets out to humanize and deconstruct these heroes so we can see that everyone, even members of the Justice League, are filled with regret